Hey everybody, this is Professor Lilly, and I want to talk to you about the final exam. And just in case, there's two places to find out about it in Moodle. And they are right here, the final project exam detailed instructions. But then I also went and put them in the turn it in, or the assignment box here. So we are done with module 4. That's the last module. This week I'm going to go through and just make sure there might be one or two people left for to grade still for module 3. I'm just going to double check and make sure there's not any empty grades in the grade books for that module, and then I'm going to grade module 4. And so basically, in this assignment, or in this course, you will have 5 grades, and then a grade for each module, and then a grade for the final exam. So so we're wrapped up with module 4, and so we have only one assignment left: the final exam, which is an essay. So let me talk about that. And we've been kind of building up to this all year long, or all semester long. And this is the kind of concept behind the course that Dr. King had when he created it, was that people, or all of the students, would be continually thinking about this main question. And the idea is that you would be better, much more able to answer the question well by the end of the semester, going through all the reading and the discussions and writing your essays, which are have similar prompts. And I will also be going back to the very first week you submitted that final exam essay, and that first week, that does count as participation. I'm going to be going through, but I already looked at those at the very beginning. So they're more like kind of helping for you to push you over the top if you participated in that first week, which everyone did. If you were like a couple tenths of a point from the next grade level when I'm doing calculating the total, your total for the course, and then converting that to a letter grade to submit in WebAdvisor. And so anyway, I mean, you answered that first week's question, which was similar, but at that point you had, presumably a fairly vague idea of some of the issues, and now you're much better prepared to answer the final exam question. And again, it is one essay question. Now, I also am asking you to do one other thing at the end of the essay. So after the essay, you're completely written in your format, and you can do this in two ways. Like if you're doing, I'm going to get into the presentation or the exam options, but if you're doing a Prezi or a PowerPoint, that if you want, just email me. And I'm just looking for feedback here, especially from your module, so in the reading. So please tell me like 1 or 2 readings that you feel like from the module that you led that you felt were the most useful, and 1 or 2 that you thought or weren't so useful, or you thought that it would be a good idea for me to delete. And this is to be honest, this is the one I'm interested in the most. I've already done a fair amount of alterations. I mean, one thing that I wish I would do again in the course is that and there's one aspect there's nothing I could do about, is that there weren't enough people to really sustain a really good kind of vibrant conversation. The first time I taught the course, there were 15 students, and so the conversations tend to be a lot more kind of engaged, and especially when there's spaced out conversations with the number of people we had. So if the one thing I would do is try to come through it and maybe myself participate more, or I'm not really sure, maybe restructure the discussion, so it's a little bit more vibrant. I mean, you all did a very good job of chiming in, but just the more people you have in there, I mean, not too many people, but I think more like having closer to like 12, 13, 14 people would make it more vibrant. But I'm most interested in this your suggestions from your module that you led in terms of which readings were most useful. So again, you can paste that in or add that in if you're doing a Word document to answer your essay, a traditional essay, or email it to me. Okay, so at the very beginning of the semester, I mentioned the research option of actually doing a traditional research paper or a law and policy type research paper, and no one kind of chimed in that first weekend or first 2 weeks and said they were interested in it. So I'm going to assume that you are all doing this option, the final exam essay option. And what I'm looking for, and I've tried to kind of really be specific here, and rather than saying, just asking in general, what do you think are the most important, I want you to really focus in on two issues. So choose two key laws, issues, or policies that you think are really the most important and you want to focus on in your essay. And I would ask you, since the word count here is 1,100 to 1,500, I'm asking you, I'm kind of giving you a range for per issue. So this is basically like 2.5, on Microsoft Word, a traditional essay, pretty good focused pages. And I really want you to focus here. And in the discussion forum, a lot of times it gets kind of more like opinion based, or since you've been reading a lot, I would say it's kind of both opinion and analysis, because you're given analysis based on all the reading and the research you've done on that topic. But still, it ends up being more that rather than what I would call like a detailed essay with lots of context and evidence, which is fine for the discussion forum. But in this final exam essay, I really want you to provide a lot of context. So you're going to have lots of citations back to readings and web resources where you find information. So that is why I've given you specific set of, I guess you could call them guidelines or sections that I want you to have for each of these two issues that you're going to analyze here. So get down to the description of the issue itself, and I don't want you, like, if there's one kind of critique of this class, or there could be a number of them, but one that I have is that I do see the possibility for a student to have maybe too much kind of redundancy, too much kind of summary with all these essays and also the discussion. So I want you, if this is a topic that you choose that you also discussed or focused on one of the modules as a leader, I want you to really kind of go beyond and really describe it for a fresh audience. So if you got hired next week by a company and you mentioned, oh, I took this media law class, and they're like, oh, we need to get, this is a startup, and what do you think are the big issues? Take a week and go write us a white paper, a policy paper, telling us what about these two issues that you think might impact us the most as a startup company. And so if you were going to approach it that way, if you're just talking off the top of your head to the CEO, you might just start talking, right? But I want you to, but the CEO says, no, go and take a week and write me a policy paper and tell me about this policy that we really need to be aware of. So you're not the lawyer, but after reading the policy paper, the CEO can go and get some lawyers and say, well, these are the things I'm concerned about. What can we do to make sure we're protected, or that we're aware of it, or we're operating under the policy or the law, or good practices associated with users of our new emerging technology that we're about to launch. Okay, So I think that's a useful way for you to think about it, right? Writing a white paper for your new CEO. Just the core principles at first, but then I really want you to get into the core context. So I'm talking about the history of it. Okay, so where is it coming from? If there had been different laws in the past, and they mention what those laws are, similar to what the module leaders did before. In terms of each module, I asked for some historical context, and if there was a Supreme Court or courts kind of reading or rulings and how they've changed over time and how they impact, what is the current understanding of the courts on this particular topic right now. If if you dealt with this issue in your presentation, then I want you, I don't want to see the exact same presentation, okay? Because this is a week's worth of work. This is your final culmination for the semester. So if I basically look at it and say, well, this is the same presentation this person gave before as their module leader, then I'm going to figure that you didn't really do much work because it's the same. So I don't want to see the same thing turned in. It is completely possible for you to focus on the same issue, but then you got to figure out a way to make it new and to hone in. So maybe you're going to hone in to more of the international issues or recent laws, because there are a lot, all the presentations were good, but certainly there were a lot of in the last year, there's been rulings associated with social media and free speech, for example. So you can really try to focus in on those or take a different approach to it, okay? Maybe a different presentation format. I'm not saying that you can't focus on the same thing that you did because you were kind of more of an expert in the area of your, when you were the module leader, but this should represent, the culmination of your work and your best work for the semester. So keep that in mind. At the end, definitely throw in, what is your opinion, your analysis leading to, your advice for your CEO associated with this issue, and then finally any kind of conclusion that you have. So at the very end, I do want citations, but I want you to focus on the meat of the essay itself. And so it's okay for you to have short citations in the text, or short or a work cited at the end, or links. And the reason why it's kind of designed this way is because you can have multiple ways to present this. And like I say here, you don't have. I want you to focus on two issues. Obviously, that means you're not going to focus on an issue per module, and you are. And some of the issues, go through the different modules. And then lastly, I want you to have some flexibility, okay, in your presentation format, so you can turn in a traditional essay. Maybe if you want to include some of the information that you did on your presentation from your module as a module leader, and you did a PowerPoint, then maybe instead focus on converting it to a paper and giving some additional context that you didn't give before. And please, if you were a module leader, then if you choose one of your issues that were associated with your module, then please choose the second issue. Remember, you have to do two that came from a different module. And that's just, to make sure that when the professor reads it, professor feels like you're getting into some new territory here. But you can choose whatever presentation format you want. So you could do a PowerPoint with a voiceover. You have to have a voiceover and have to have links in it. And plenty of slides with lots of text. If you could do the Prezi, or like I said, you can do a traditional, paper and a word processor So traditional essay paper. And then finally, let's talk about when it is due. So the 14th is technically the last day of the semester. That means it's a week from today. Okay, so I am okay with one of you or any of you coming to me and saying, emailing and saying, can I have an extension? And that's fine, because the final exam, the essays, I'm sorry, the final exam schedule says that certain courses would have exams all the way up to the 17th. And so that's, if you need a couple extra days, if this week is a busy work week with you, that's fine. But what I'm going to say is that you have to tell me, let me know, so that when I go and I look for the final exams, if yours is missing or it says that yours is, you can still turn it in late, but the tool here would tell me that something's submitted late, and then I'll say, oh yeah, so and so had emailed me and asked for an extension. So the extension can only be for up to 2 or 3 days maximum. So I can't give you any more than that. But if you really need one, that's fine. You can have a little bit more than 1 week, but you have to email me. So as of now, today, this is set up so that you would turn it in by Monday night. So you got one week for this assignment. There's nothing else in the class. All the guidelines are right here. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, just email me. And like I said, I'll be going through and making sure that everything is graded, so that by the time I start grading, including Module 4, so I'm going to go through and grade Module 4, so that by the time I start grading these, this will be the last thing, and then I will calculate the final grades just based on what all the grades are in the grade book for each student, and then submit those grades before Christmas. All right, so have a great week. Enjoy, getting into the nitty gritty. Because this is definitely full-on graduate student type work, similar to some of the essays that I did when I was getting my master's and PhD. And email me if you have any questions. And I hope you enjoyed the semester, and take care. Maybe I'll see you in another graduate course later in your time with the program. And have a great winter break.